And welcome everyone to Teachers Talk Live, the podcast for K-12 Solutions. On episode 13, we are discussing the coach-teacher relationship in our schools and ways to make it successful, collaborative, and in a positive climate. Over the next hour, we'll discuss the benefits to a teacher teaming up with a teacher coach and the great outcomes we can see in the students. We will also tackle the concerns or hesitations a teacher may have into entering this type of collaboration and then find ways to ease those concerns. What can be improved? How can schools make collaboration better in this way? We will discuss the role of the teacher coach as well in depth, as we have some experience on-the-ground coaches with us today that can speak to the challenges and solutions faced by coaches, teachers, and districts in implementing the teacher coaches within schools. As always, find us at teachcow.com or go directly to our previous episodes on iTunes by following edulisten.com. If you like what you hear, please give us a review, as it will help us continue these talks in the future. Without further ado, let's get started with our amazing group of panelists. So let's begin with Lee. Go ahead, give us an introduction.
Oh, hello everybody. I'm Lee Rouse. I'm an instructional coach and technology integrationist from New York, and I've been teaching for 27 years. Just moved out of the classroom for most of the day into an instructional coach role, but I also like the fact that I'm in the classroom for 2 periods a day.
Nice. Welcome. And Carly.
Hi, I'm Carly Mora. I am a teacher on special assignment at Sun Terrace Elementary. It's a school in Concord, California, Mount Diablo Unified. I am part-time. I'm only 50%, but I'm only at one site. So I get to work with the entire TK through 5th grade classes. I do a lot in our STEM lab and do a lot with EdTech integration.
Nice. Welcome. And Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe Young. I'm a math and STEAM coach, teacher on special assignment in the Palo Alto Unified School District. This is my first year as a coach, and I get to support 4 sites throughout the district. We have a district of 12 elementary and also a pre-K school, and so I get the privilege of working with teachers from 4 sites, actually more than 4 sites. When I put on my STEAM hat, I get to go to a lot of other schools, and then also the principals there and of course district PDs.
Nice. And Ben?
Hey, I am Coach Ben. So this is my first year as a district TOSA for educational technology, and my second year as a coach. Before that, I lived in a 6th grade classroom for 7 years, and that was super awesome. And now I have the privilege of working with about 330 teachers in the Alisal Union School District in Salinas, California, specifically with EdTech. Go Salad Bowl, capital of the world.
And last but not least, Amanda.
I am Amanda Hawes. I'm a new teacher on special assignment this year as well. I'm a district math and technology integration coach, and I work with our elementary sites. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in Campbell, California. I work with the elementary sites in our district. We're a K-8 district, and previous to my TOSA role this year, I've taught kinder, 3rd, and 5th. Last couple of years, I was a site tech coach while I was full-time teaching.
Very nice. Welcome, everybody. So, guys, let's go ahead and get started with the discussion. First thing I want to ask everyone, and anyone can answer this, to a teacher that hasn't experienced a coaching cycle or something similar to it, what is a coach? Can you explain that to us? What does a coach do?
I can jump in, sorry.
All right.
And then hopefully you guys can build off of me. It's a good question. It comes up a lot. So, what do you do exactly? So I think it kind of looks different, too, for different people, because I'm technically a teacher on special assignment, so I think coaching is part of a lot of things that I do, but I would say the coach comes in as a support for teachers, so stepping away from the idea that we're there to fix you, but more like act as a sports coach would, for example, and kind of be a guide and help you, a variety of things. If you want to try something new, we can try something new with you, or help reflect on current practices, or just kind of be like the kind of that person on the side that can kind of cheer you on and help you think about different ways of doing things if need be. Or can someone add on to that? I think there's like a variety of things that kind of go into that.
I think the most important aspect of being a coach is job-embedded PD, job-embedded professional development.
Yeah.
For so many years, you would go to, an in-service class or staff development day. You would hear someone stand in front of the room, a lot of sit and get, and then they leave and you never see them again. So in my role as an instructional coach, I love that I could really get my hands dirty, so to speak, get into the classroom, work with those teachers, work alongside them, and really learn from them as well. I think that's one thing that's important too as a coach. There's a give and take that's important, and that's what I wanted to add. Hope I didn't jump in too fast.
Yeah,
I also
think
think go ahead, Carly.
No, go ahead.
I think that a lot of times I agree with both what Lee and Amanda said, and just also it's somebody to collaborate with. Sometimes as a teacher we just needed either a sounding board. It's like that person that you wish was there at that time, and maybe that's what's challenging about being a coach is being there for that person at the right time. But just that person, that extra person that you can collaborate with and throw some ideas, whether it's a sounding board, and then also I think that continued support, like Lee said, as far as, we have that in-service, how can we kind of be there? And also I really think, again, agreeing with Amanda, a lot of times I look at it as this role of a sports coach. And I remember actually one of my first coaches that I had in the classroom, she would say, I think about the, Broncos right now, but like Peyton Manning, he's a great quarterback, but even Peyton Manning has a coach, right? So a coach is about just, even though if you're great, everybody needs a little coach and everybody needs a little help. So
nice. Any other input on what a coach is?
I think for me, I kind of define my role as more of a support teacher. I don't really call myself a coach. I just go in and support them with whatever they need. And I think in that role as a coach, you're just there to do whatever they need, because it may change from day to day, or you may have a meeting with someone and then you come in and you're just there to support them in whatever they need in the classroom.
So I heard something from Amanda specifically that made me think of this. She referred to not fixing you, and which leads me to ask you guys, what are the misconceptions about what a educational coach or teacher coach is?
I think I'll jump in because I always jump to that first, because I think there's a little bit of a stigma around coaching with a lot of the teachers that I work with. And lucky for me, coming into this role new, I know a lot of those teachers across the district from other things, and so that helps me a little bit, and I can't imagine having come in completely new. Because there is a little bit of that stigma that coaches are sent out to fix things that aren't being done right, and that's not the case at all. Or maybe they've had that bad experience in the past, and but that's not the idea, right? It's that we're not sent out to check on the bad teachers, right? That's not the case at all, and I think that's one of the big misconceptions.
May I jump in here?
Sure, go ahead.
There was a teacher that responded to our TOSA survey. We in our district, we put out a survey over winter break and into the first week of January, asking what's your experience like with TOSAs and the coaches that have worked with you so far this year. And one teacher who I have never supported, never had the opportunity and the pleasure of going in just because he's never signed up and never asked for support, very candidly and openly put in the survey saying that in years past, maybe 5 years ago, he had a TOSA come in and work with him, and then afterward tell the principal everything that happened, and then it turned into this evaluation process. And so that's a big thing that I've been working on with him and with other teachers is, that strategic ways of enrolling them, asking for permission, partnering with them, and letting them know that we're really not evaluators. We're really just peers. And I've used the term thought partner a lot, but not even a thought partner. I get to learn so much from them, and that's a big misconception that I feel too. Is that some people think that TOSAs and coaches, we know it all, and really we don't. I have learned so much from the teachers I work with, and that's a fun part of my job, that I get to learn from one teacher, and then next week I get to share with other teachers and say, wow,
Absolutely.
your colleague is doing this great thing. Let me pair you up together.
Lee, did you want to add to that?
I was just going to add that, going to the misconceptions, that I had ended up in a bit of a Twitter battle with someone who was like so angry at me for promoting my instructional coaching stuff on Twitter, and she was like, why do you think you can come in and tell us what to do? And I was just like kind of taken aback, and I was whoa, because like in my experience, and again, I haven't been a coach for too long, but I've always kind of tried to make it where the teachers come to me. Like, I'll demonstrate something, I'll share at a small group meeting, or we have these little grade level meetings in my buildings, and then I promote my services. I'll say, if you like what I showed you, I can come meet with you one-on-one. We can have a little coaching session. We can plan something. If you'd like me to do a demo with your kids, we'll work side by side. So it was weird. I didn't realize there was that misconception out there. But, as I guess Amanda said, some people think coaches are perhaps a spy for the administration, and I was just taken aback at the misconception of instructional coaches, I guess, in my experience. I guess people may have had some bad experiences, but...
So since we're talking about those specific experiences by teachers, how do we get past that misconception, that view that if I'm a teacher, I feel a little bit uncomfortable about letting you in my classroom because I'm going to feel that you're there to evaluate me, that you'll go back to my principal and make an informal evaluation, and that you're there because maybe you know better than me and I'm inadequate. So this would be a view from a teacher, right? This would be what maybe a teacher might interpret the idea of you coming into their classroom. So how do we get past that? How do you create that?
I think everybody here maybe would probably say the same thing, and just like in your title, I think it's all about relationships, and some people, depending upon, and they're very individual, so some people, it's for who you are, it's very easy to have a relationship with, and for some people and your personality and their personality, it's a little bit more challenging in trying to build that relationship. But I think when it comes down to it, it's just relationships.
Yep.
I'm sure there's go ahead and add to that.
Yeah. Good.
I was going to say absolutely with the relationships, and I think again, I try to work from an area of comfort. So I have teachers that know me perhaps because I've been in the district for a while, so that might be one advantage I have. But I'll come into their room and then it kind of snowballs. So they'll talk about something we did together with their class, and then it the other teacher on the grade level may say, Lee, wow, I heard you did something great in Christine's room. Can you come into my room? And it kind of snowballs for me. So I try not to, I'm not confrontational. And luckily, I know some administrations may partner people up. I haven't really been told, go work with teacher X.
Yeah.
Make sure it's been more like I've just kind of gone out there and worked with people and promoted things, and then I like it when they come to me, when they set up an appointment with me. So I try not to be. I mean, I know. Excuse me. I don't know if that's making sense and works all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
but I'd rather them come to me than
Mhm.
me come to them, although I know we may be put in that position at times as well.
Yeah, I think that's, I like the comment that you made about the snowball effect. My boss told me to have teachers write my Yelp reviews, right? So I've worked with people that I've known. Again, I'm in a similar situation. I know a lot of these people, and that's where I've started. And then every time something good happens, I just make the comment of like, and hey, tell your neighbors, or hey, it's not
I
that
love that.
scary or whatever. And then, I think part of it too has a lot to do with like the culture at the site or in the district as far as, coaching goes. And so part of it might be like a culture shift too, just how people look at the idea of coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I could assume it would be really tough if you're in a situation where, there's a lot of like teacher administrator friction, and everybody's kind of watching their back. I mean, I know there are schools like that, but luckily I haven't really had to deal with that. But that would be a huge challenge.
So do you think, Lee, do you think those teachers would be at a disadvantage if they're in a culture like Amanda's referring to? I mean, I've been at schools like that before where the culture is kind of difficult and there's tension, and then anyone who comes into your classroom is suddenly distrusted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, then you have to take like incremental steps. I started in a school like that years ago. I was a new kid. I was 23 years old, and people didn't like me because I was so young, and I had different ideas. I took the kids outside to play kickball. I had a teacher say to me, "We don't do
Shame
that
on
in
you.
this school." And the other kids I would see in the windows, like the other classes, would be looking out the windows with a sad look on their face, So I took my kids outside to play kickball because my favorite fifth grade teacher took us out to play kickball. I was just like part of my, elementary week at the end of the week or whatever. But luckily, like it took years, but like slowly but surely, people came around and people left and newer people came in. It was just kind of like the culture shifted over years. It took years to shift, but it did eventually shift.
Right. And we had Kelly join us. Kelly, would you introduce yourself? Hi.
Hi, my name is Kelly Martin, and I'm the TK through 8th grade Educational Technology and Curriculum Coordinator for Lake Tahoe Unified in South Lake Tahoe, California. I do a lot of coaching. I was a TOSA for 4 years before I moved into this admin role, and I still do a lot of coaching and training, and I was doing actually quite a bit of that until about 3 minutes ago.
Fun.
Yeah.
So welcome. So we're talking about, Kelly, we're talking about misconceptions as far as what a coach is, and the difficulties that that a coach might encounter in a classroom. And so we were talking about some of the challenges that a coach may face in a district where there isn't that collaborative climate, where there can be tension and mistrust between maybe administration and the teacher. So anyone that comes into the classroom, there's automatically some kind of like, oh, you're here to evaluate me, or you're here to judge what I'm doing or change what I'm doing.
Right.
So have you experienced that before, or what is your experience as far as that?
Yeah, I think I definitely have, and the best way to sort of move past it with a lot of teachers is to just constantly reinforce I'm just here to help. And I think somebody, I don't remember who said it a while ago, was just like relating a coach to like a personal trainer. Like, I'm just here to help you and help you get better. And I'm here to support you. And even though I technically am an administrator now because I still go in and do coaching, I try to just make it very clear that I'm not there to evaluate them. I'm only there to help them. And that's the way that I've been able to sort of build those relationships with teachers outside of my original school site. So it's worked fairly well to just say over and over and over, I'm here to help you, I'm here to support you.
Right. So can anyone speak to specific, without naming names, to specific difficulties that you faced in interfacing with a teacher in a coach role?
Nobody wants to go
I think
first.
No, nobody wants to go
No, I
first.
think the hard part is kind of chipping the rock, and sometimes these are. I think it's also different in the position you're in. If you're at a school site, it's a little bit different in kind of the way you can form relationships. But if you're at more of a district level, thinking about all the people that you're working with, you're always going to get, the bigger the population, the more of a chance you're going to have to work with, difficult people. And so sometimes I think it's not as much about the relationship as far as coaching, more kind of about the product. So if you are a K through 2 coach that focuses in this area, or if you're an ed tech coach like me, the people have to be interested in what that is. And if they're not interested, for my example, in educational technology, then they would have no necessarily interest interacting with me. So in that case, maybe I have to be a little bit more, I don't want to say pushy because that's the wrong word, but a little bit more going out of my way, saying how can I help you with that person. And so sometimes I think it's that. I think some of the other times it just goes back to just kind of what someone was talking about. We have to be, if we're not ready to grow, then we're not probably ready to have somebody come in and coach us. So I think you kind of have to be at that point as a person where you're ready to grow, and so.
If I may share,
I think someone's using the bathroom.
He's feeding the cat right now. We're trying to, even though the cat was already fed.
That's awesome.
Good.
I wanted to share about a struggle that I think some coaches do have, in that our position, it's generally sometimes a lonely position because we don't have kids in our classrooms. We go from site to site, and Carly, even though she's supporting one site, she's still she may not have her own place, right? Her own classroom, and the connections aren't as apparent as it used to be when you're in a grade level partner. So one struggle that I have right now is when I'm working with teachers and they have what they want to learn, that is fantastic. The moment I have to juggle what the district initiatives are and what my boss gives me, and then it doesn't match what the teachers want to do, I have to figure out how I can still do the district initiatives but really satisfy the teachers, because it's really about improving their practice. The very first question that was asked, I wanted to define that as well, is that coaching really is an essential resource in the ever-changing environment and culture of education, with new curriculums, new programs, new models, new structures. The coach is a really important part because it offers personalized, team-based, and school-wide support to the colleagues. And when we do that for the personalized piece, and yet there's district initiatives, that's been the challenge at times.
That's really good. So what are some other challenges that so Joe shared with us a specific challenge that he faced with coaching, and I really appreciated what you said, Joe, about what there can be a bit of a conflict sometimes between the district initiatives versus what the teacher wants to do, and also shaping the curriculum into something that the teacher wants to be able to do, as well as fit in within the district initiatives, which I think would be a very challenging piece of coaching. And as a matter of fact, I faced it a little bit myself as a teacher, with a coach that I had, and trying to direct my teaching with what the district wanted me to do, as well as what the coach wanted to push me to do, So what are some other challenges? What are some other challenges that are faced by the coach? And if you have a specific story, and I think Amanda has one.
Sure, I have. Ben was reminding me too that especially specifically when you're like an ed tech coach, I'm you still tend to run into teachers that are probably a little hesitant or anti-technology, right? There's a big mix of people. Like, I'm not the only one, right?
Yeah.
No, I know, and so that's one struggle that comes up pretty frequently, right? Like trying to get people on board with that, but not be pushy about it, and not trying to meet people where they're at, and just. But we know it's important and the kids need it, and so it's trying to find that right balance and work with people on that. And Ben kind of started to make a comment, and I thought it sort of, he said, not be pushy, but definitely like show up for those people a little more, like, and I thought, it's that kind of not overwhelm them, but definitely like be around a little more frequently with those people and build that relationship with them so that they do get to the point where it's, you can finally offer that specific support and maybe get in the room with them and maybe try something with them. And so the pushback on technology is specific to an ed tech coach, but is probably one of the bigger challenges that I particularly face.
I can't imagine, actually, when you guys talk about ed tech coaches, I can't imagine specifically how you go about working with a reluctant teacher that really doesn't want to try whatever, because you do have a lot of old school teachers that would rather just stick to pen and paper and that's it. And I can't imagine Amanda, how did you deal with it?
I can think of one specific instance, and it was someone that I already had a good relationship with, so that's probably the first step, right? Someone that that doesn't know you, doesn't trust you, it's probably you're not going to get in their room very quickly. So with this person, I already had a pretty good relationship with them, and my strategy was to build off of their strengths and their passions. So I went in with a specific tool, specific strategy, specific goal for the students based around something that I knew she was already really passionate about. And then I could just say, hey, there's this awesome tool here that might align really well with this unit that I know you do excellently every year, and maybe we kind of just fit that in and see what happens, and then it's just a little baby step from there, and then it was, sort of like, okay, well, yeah, we could try that. And so it was all about kind of getting to know that person and know what they're all about, and then going from there.
Nice.
I think it's all about the nudge, just to ease them into it. To piggyback off of what Amanda said, I also had a situation where someone was very passionate about like growth mindset lessons and things like that, and I had a tool. I said, I'll show you, let's take your lesson and maybe we can post it on this Padlet tool, this little online bulletin board, very basic tool. And the teacher was like, well, I don't really do tech. And I said, I'll do all the tech stuff. You do the growth mindset stuff. I'll be your tech guy. I'll show you exactly how to get the kids on. I'll set up the Padlet. I'll show you how to share it. We'll do everything. And it was like a huge hit. And then, it snowballed again from there, and other people were interested in having me show them the Padlet tool.
That's a really cool way to approach it. Oh, go ahead. Kelly?
Oh, Kelly?
No, I wasn't sure who was talking. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that it's my biggest difficulty is finding something that's sustainable for them, that I don't, I go on and there's this one-shot lesson, so finding something that's not just simple for me, but is simple for them to implement, because you got to put yourself back in their shoes and just remember what it's like to be in there day in and day out. So trying to find something that's simple and sustainable rather than, like a one-shot PD. You're there to support them, but you want to make it so that they could do it on their own and make it easy enough that they could keep going. And I think it's difficult sometimes, but again, if you build the relationship and you know the staff, you know the people, and you know the tools, you can kind of figure that out.
On our TOSA team, we have a saying that we always want to work ourselves out of our own jobs. So we really empower teachers to be able to do peer coaching as well, and that's what Carly's saying, make it sustainable, that they can continue on when you're not there.
And I think with some of the technology pieces, because I've done primarily the ed tech coaching as well, but now because we have math and language arts common core standards coming more into play, I'm doing more of that with technology, is I kind of take the same approach Lee has done as well. Like, I want to show you a tool that's not just a one-trick pony, like something you can use for multiple different topics, multiple different things, and then let's expand on that piece. And that's been a great thing to do. The other thing that I've done is find those, my superintendent calls them the heat seekers. So find the people that are on the forefront that want to make the change, and let them be kind of the mouthpiece of, well, check out what Kelly showed me. This was really awesome. And then that's been able to sort of like snowball into more and more training with similar things, and then even expanding on what teachers need in their own classroom. So that, I think, has been really powerful too. So those are just some of the random things that I was like, I don't know what to do. Let's try this. And I feel fortunate that it's been successful. So
I love that heat seekers term.
Yeah.
I wrote that down.
I can see Lee scribbling away over there.
I like that. And I have to say too that I've been sharing out some of the things that my teachers have done. So at a faculty meeting, when I first started coaching, I would show my stuff. Like, there's this tool called S'more. It's like a digital bulletin flyer board. It's like one of my favorite tools. I've been using it for years, and I used to share my s'mores. But like yesterday, I did a presentation. I said, hey, so-and-so, can I use your s'more? Can I share your s'more with the faculty? And she was like, well, are you sure? I said, yeah, I really want them to see what someone else did. I don't want them. I know how to do s'mores. I've been doing s'mores forever. I'm the ed tech guy. But I want to show you how some other people can do s'mores, people that are just like you, but are heat seekers, like Kelly mentioned, and then hopefully it'll snowball from there as well.
Nice. So I want to refer back to what Carly said, her comment about sustainability, and specifically to putting yourself in the shoes of the teacher, because I think that's really important to be able to have success in a coaching environment. So what are some other examples of putting yourself in the teacher's shoes? What other considerations should a coach have in going into a classroom?
I look at kind of going into the classroom as, I think it was Josh Harris that called that he gets to be like the fun uncle. And I kind of look at it as I'd be the fun aunt. Like, I was actually telling somebody this today. They're like, do you miss teaching? And I said, well, it's kind of hard when you get to be the fun aunt, because when I go and do demo lessons, I get to walk in and do all the cool, fun stuff that the teacher's like, I want to be able to get there, and the kids are super excited. But then I don't have to do report cards and some of that hard stuff. That's the stuff that's really trying on teachers and very stressful. We have other stress, but it's I don't know. It was just, I was like, I get to be the fun aunt. I get to go and do the fun stuff. And then hopefully, like, elevating the teachers to their level of expertise.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest fear as a new, full-time coach is forgetting. I haven't been out that long, so I hope I haven't forgotten. But I definitely make it a point to remember everything that's going on in the rooms and to be in the rooms as often as possible. Anyone that'll have me, right? Just to be in a room, even if I'm just hanging out, so I don't forget what the day in and day out looks like. And then now trying to, as someone I talked to the other day said, don't, adopt a room, right? And I thought, that's great for both of us. And I'm working with a teacher now to start co-teaching pretty regularly for a window of time so that, I get to practice, keep my skills up. I get to, stay, in the loop as far as, what the day-to-day is so I don't forget. And then hopefully that kind of helps take a little of the burden off of her, a couple days a week too, to have someone co-teaching.
I've subbed.
I think the big.
Yep, that too. Yeah.
That'll pull you right back in.
Yep.
You'll remember real
offer
quick.
an extra prep, an extra break. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Subbing is a nice way.
I think the biggest.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think the biggest consideration for me too is it's not even just kind of what's inside the classroom. It's like for considerations that you mentioned about being a teacher. It's like as I think a coach or a TOSA, sometimes we forget about the grading or the parent-teacher conferences or some of those extra things that are on teachers' plates. So that's what I always try to remember is like look at the calendar or see what time of the year it is or what day maybe the staff meeting or something like that, because I think those are things that really I remember they really affected me, and so just kind of keeping that in mind when I'm entering the classroom, I think those are important for me, adding on top of what other people said.
Something that I like to add to all the ideas is one thing that I do to never forget what it's like to be a teacher, and also just this act of doing this really builds these connections is for elementary school coaches, taking the teacher's yard duties and just being out there and say, go take a break, go get your snack, go use the restroom. I've got your yard duty today. And it really builds those relationships, allows you to have those connections. And from that, they I've gotten invites into their classrooms a lot just because I can start building that relationship. They come back and they say, "Oh, I'm back. You can go." I said, "No, I'll stay here." And then we just start chatting and talking about what they're interested in and what they're passionate about. And then, as mentioned earlier, I just find those entry points to give them ideas of what to do with math and science, ed tech.
Wow, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. So, we've been talking about the teacher, but what about the coach? What are some what are some things that some teachers might not understand about your role as a coach that you can share some insight into? And that's open to anybody.
I feel like Kelly's making the same face I am right now. Yeah.
I knew you have something.
Like there might be a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
I think with being a coach, you just don't. As a teacher, I had no clue what I was taking on when I went out of the classroom. Oh God, 5 years ago now, to become a coach. So, I mean, I had no idea. I had no idea how much curriculum was going to be involved in the ed tech integration. I had no idea I was going to be picking software. And to this day, I have teachers who go, "I don't really know what you do." And it's like, okay, well, you've seen me at the school sites. You've seen me. I've been in your classroom. I've helped you set some stuff up. I worked with you. So that's just what you see. And then keep in mind, my hours are 8 to 5. So school doesn't start till 9 at most of our sites, at least in the elementary sites. So I'm at work an hour before you get there, and I'm still working on other projects and other things later. So how do you think all those things get set up? Sorry, somebody just left. Hence my waving. But it's just people can define your job and your role however whatever the job description looks like, but there's always going to be more that gets piled on there. I was lucky enough to actually write my job description for the job I have now. And so when people say, "What do you do?" I'm like, go look. You could look it up on the district's website. My job description's there. So I do that and more. Like, And it's also, when I was a TOSA, when I was a coach, I'd say, 10% of our contract is supposed to be other duties as assigned. And that's not really true when you're a TOSA. That's more like when you're a coach, you're doing probably like 50 to 60% of that is other duties, is like, because Amanda and Carly said they've subbed. And I got thrown into that very early on, but we were really adamant about, like, this is not supposed to be our role. And so there's other people on campus that can do those things, and we're here to help, but we should not be going into sub. So it was all these really, it's been very interesting to see how things have evolved, because we've had TOSAs and coaches for, well, me, and then there was one other person, but he's been put back in the classroom. But since, as far long ago as 5 years ago, and it was like really unheard of that they'd gotten so far away from it, and now it's sort of cycling back to having a lot of teachers on special assignment and coaches. So I don't think most teachers know what we do, and I don't know if it's easy for us to even verbalize what it is we do.
There's definitely a lot of random stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
Like super random stuff that you don't know when you apply for the job, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel I'm going to shout out to my colleague Lindsay, who may or may not be listening live right now, but I thought about her as soon as that question was asked too, because it's that curriculum management part too that comes up that you're kind of like, oh man, this is a bummer. And like, she's been, poor thing, struggling with like this minor little like tech issue with the curriculum, and is like inputting students manually one by, I'm like, oh my God, like, right? All those little like tedious things that you don't want to do, but we're trying to make the teachers' lives easier, so we don't want them to do it, right? But like, there's got to be a solution, and you end up being the one that gets to do it sometimes. And so, oh my goodness, stuff like that you just don't expect.
No, and I shared with all of my elementary sites, because we had an online test that they took. I actually had to manually build it, and when I said, it took me 30 hours to build these in our data management system for just 3 tests, and they were like, that takes a long time, and I'm like,
you're not kidding.
And I was honest. I said, we're not going to ask you to do it. That's not fair to ask the teachers to do it. You guys are busy enough. And they all were like, wow, that's really nice. I'm like, it is. You should be really thankful.
So the workload. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, one thing that I've really come to learn about our roles as coaches is that our world really expanded from the 24 kids in your class to the thousands of kids in the district, and that's where you don't just think of that one site or your class of 24. You really have to think of all thousands of students there. This year in Palo Alto, we've been working on changing our math assessments to align with the Common Core state standards, and so we were working on that, creating that. And one thing that I never even considered when I was a classroom teacher was, of course, knowing that, vetting it with all the math leads. That was a huge deal in itself. And then I had the additional step of checking in with the Spanish immersion teachers and getting them translated. And that was a huge process for me. I never considered that as a teacher because it was just my own classroom, 24 kids, but now it's so many kids all over the district.
Yeah, I think something too that comes up every once in a while is, just because we're not at this is more so, I guess, if you're a district level TOSA, but just because you don't see me at your site doesn't mean I'm not working, right?
Yes, good point, Amanda.
I mean, technically I have 9 sites. Some of you have more than that. I'm just, I wish I could be there every day, but I can't, and we're doing all those behind the scenes sorts of things like Joe is talking about and Kelly's talking about, and oh my goodness, like, and the meetings, right? I traded in report cards for meetings.
Yes,
So,
we do
goodness.
We do visitations and things like that, so I might even be off-site. This Monday I went to another building. My principal asked me to go to his former school, and I wasn't around, but I had people texting me like, can I use your parking spot? I heard you're not here today. I said, I'm out this morning, but I still keep connecting in class, so I need my spot. So it's just like weird. Like they don't, out of sight, out of mind, I guess. They think that we're just like hanging out, having coffee somewhere. I don't know.
I think that
Was there a
the
cartoon
teachers
going
are
around
just,
about that, I think?
Yeah.
I think the teachers are just jealous you get to go off campus, but they don't know
Right.
what you're going to go do, you know?
That's true. That's true.
I think the hardest thing for me, the thing that is like, as a teacher, you got sometimes you had recess duty. You get your recess bell, you go out, but sometimes you got to have that 15-minute break. And then at lunch, your bell came, and you had your 50-minute lunch, and then your bell rang, and you got to go out. And, there's days that, some days that lunchtime gets cut a little short, or maybe it's lunch and work. And I think that's, for me, definitely the most hardest thing that, and I think that maybe teachers maybe not understand. It's just that it's like we don't necessarily have a break a lot of times. It's just go, go, go. We're at work, we go.
Right.
And then, of course, the multitasking. 30 kids is a lot in the classroom, but then when you're a coach, you're not quite a teacher, you're not quite an admin. So there's some things that are, a normal teacher wouldn't do that, maybe your admin wouldn't do, and just those extra little things that all pile up. So
well, and your role is really fluid, so it's not like you just have one set of responsibilities that are very clear cut. There's just a lot of fluidity and a lot of difficulty in trying to navigate one specific path and doing one specific thing. So what we've discussed some of the teacher challenges. We've discussed some of the misconceptions of what a coach does. What else would you want to tell a teacher that might be listening to us, and also a coach that is going through a struggle, maybe with a teacher or within the school district that they're in, and also speak to the administration, an administration that might be having difficulty setting up a collaboration model between coaches and teachers. So I guess I'm asking you to speak to the general audience as far as other administrations out there, other coaches and other teachers.
I think for teachers, it's just important to ask for help. If there's, if they need to, just go to whoever you feel comfortable with and ask for help. And then as far as admin or coaches, look at what's working other places or in other schools and kind of model it from there and see what's going on. And I'm in a different place being at one site, but I think that it does help building those relationships. I think just start there. Just build those relationships. Just keep going and meeting people where they're at, not where you think they should be. You should, we all have this idea of what we're expecting out of any kind of interaction with someone, and kind of you got to put that to the side and just meet them where they're at and kind of figure out where they're at and not where you think they should be.
Right.
I think that's important. What to piggyback, and now I lost my feed here, but what Carly was saying. I try to, on Twitter and different places, like always learning from others. Like as you're all talking, I'm like scribbling down notes and things like that people said that I would like to incorporate into my practice and share out. Reading books. There's this guy, Jim Knight. He's like the instructional coaching dude. Yeah. I downloaded all of his books on Kindle, and I'm reading, and I just always feel like, the instructional coach can be a bit isolated, and like I'm the only instructional coach in my building. It's a K-12 in my district. So it's 5 sites, K-12. There's no one else doing it. I'm the first one. So I need to find out what just taking part in this talk and just continually learning and just expanding. I think that's really important as well.
Kudos to you for being a trailblazer.
Thank you.
One message that I've been sharing with teachers and admins, for that matter as well, is the whole process of iterations and, of course, growth mindset, learning from your mistakes. And for teachers, as we're coaching them, there's things that they might do that they can improve on. And then I also ask them for feedback. How can I improve my coaching skills with them so that I can really model for them the whole iteration process. And then with the admins, they really see that partnership and how that partnership just changes through experience and through ideas, and that's a huge thing about it, the whole growth mindset, that everyone's learning, everyone's working on something, and we're in it together.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I think that for me, just the thing about telling a teacher is, or that having that interaction is just kind of like whatever everybody said. Pick what you want to get better at, and that's what you can have your coach do, and figure out who can help you. And maybe a coach isn't always us as a TOSA or an official coach. Sometimes a coach could be the person next door, but just don't stay stagnant, because society's not stagnant. Knowledge is moving forward. How are you doing that? Not for yourself, but just one thing I get from a lot of people that I keep hearing, that a lot of these people that I work with give me in perspective, like Joe and Carly and a lot of other people, is just keep the students in the forefront. And because if you're thinking about that, whether it's technology or improving your teaching practice, I mean, that's what it is for. It's for the students and making sure we're doing our best to serve them. So.
Very good. So what other insights can you guys give us, give the general teacher out there, coach, or administration? What about administration, you guys? What about the administration that maybe they decided to implement coaching within their schools, and maybe it isn't starting off right? Maybe the climate, the way it's been implemented. How can they make things better?
I think making sure that you don't find yourself utilizing your coach as a mini admin. If you're gonna go into, or if you're gonna implement coaching at your sites or in your district, like just being very careful about not making them mini admin, I guess I would say. And maybe I probably don't run into this so much at the district level because I'm bouncing around a lot, but I hear stories about site-based coaches that somehow end up kind of that admin's right-hand man, just because that's what they need to. But then they unfortunately lose that opportunity to really do coaching at their site if they're helping do administrative tasks. So I think that would be something that I would recommend admin think about, or just be aware of when they're working with their coaches.
And even though I am an admin, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't want to be evaluating, and that I want to be helping. Thanks, Ben. One of the things that I've done with my administrators, because we have leadership meetings every Wednesday for 2 hours. Wow. I love them, can you tell? But I've started to bring in like little pieces. Like I brought in this an example of like the SAMR model that really kind of went into detail as far as like if you're watching a technology lesson, just be cognizant of what level your teacher may be at. You might not be evaluating them on that, but I have administrators who are like, oh, he's super techie. I'm like, no, he's just using Google Docs to have his kids type instead of using Word. That's nothing really innovative. Like let's move past that. And and so just kind of give them some like a better focus on what they should be looking at when they are doing evals of teachers, so that it's not me saying Johnny is terrible. You need to go and watch what he's doing, or he's not up to par, or what our expectations are. And that's one thing also my admin have been really good about, because we've had one-to-one for 5 years. We have online programs that our students have access to. And so they'll ask me like, well, okay, so how often should the kids be on this program? Should the teachers be using it? What should they be looking at? And they've been really good, especially this year, about pulling me back into their collaborations and working with the teachers on some of those things as far as like the management components, and that's where I am the expert. So use me, and I keep saying like use me for what I'm supposed to be used for. And that's I think with the admin, like Amanda said, you can get sometimes sucked into that like, you know, right-hand man type role, and you don't want to be in that. And there's another coordinator who's our career tech ed coordinator who's been subbing as an administrator for a principal who's out this week, and I've just always sort of been like, no, that's not my job. Like, if you really need me at that site, I will go and do that, but that is not my job and that's not my role. And the superintendent has always been great about really respecting that, because I think sometimes those lines get blurred, even with TOSAs getting thrown into doing other things and coaches getting thrown into other things that really aren't coach related. So it's really important to make this kind of, as a coach, it sort of addresses the coach side, make those lines really clear, or try to as best you can without being defiant.
I think that's probably one of the most important pieces of advice from tonight. You know, just to keep for a district that's starting this out. You know, to keep those lines separate, because the trust, the coming into the classroom for that coach, there has to be a specific relationship and a specific role that coach takes. And so if administration's having them do other stuff, then the teacher questions, you know, like, okay, so what is the coach really coming here to do? Yeah.
Well, clearly defined roles are so important.
Right.
Even in this September, first day on the job, and people were asking me to do like IT related things, you know, like, oh, you're the tech integrationist coach, then can you install a smart board in my room? And I basically, in my presentation, my first slide, I did a Google slide thing, was to go over my role. And then I had to actually sit with my admin, because nobody knew what my role was. I had to sit with my union president, which worked out great, and because it's a negotiated kind of position, and we had to sit down and just write bullet points and then share it with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. And it was just really important at first to establish what my role was, and I had to kind of advocate for myself. You know, if I had just listened to what they wanted me to do from day one, I would have been like putting carts together and working in the computer lab, like doing all sorts of IT related issues.
I think it's also, you can also ask the teachers, what, as an admin, what do you want your coach to do? You know, what would you want from a coach? If you could have a coach at your site for, I don't know, a day, what would you want them to do? And then again, for me, it's different. My role was kind of defined by the teacher, so they just tell me what they want. And sometimes I do find myself doing IT stuff. Sometimes I do find myself in the computer lab or putting together Chromebook carts, which I do as well. But it's what the teachers need me to do. And so I think that sometimes we don't ask the teachers what they need enough. So just a simple form. What do you want? What do you need? And it might differ from site to site.
And just, well, my real quick 2 cents is I think this is not just an admin, but any leadership, and it's just giving whoever who's doing that job, whether it's a teacher in the classroom or a coach, you need to give them that professional discretion and kind of to be able to have that autonomy to, like, I'm not necessarily going to tell you what to do. You come here, you go and look out and see what is needed, see what you think, and you tell me, maybe we'll have a conversation. But really kind of listening to, giving that a little bit of the free rein and letting that professional be professional.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you guys, I'm going to ask that we start with some final thoughts already, because it's on the hour. And so what I want to do is if we can go around and you guys give us your final thought and let people know how they can get a hold of you if they have any questions, and if you'd like to do that. So can we start with Amanda and work our way to the other side?
Oh, you're starting.
Go ahead,
on final thoughts.
I'm so glad it wasn't me.
I mean, I think I feel like everyone made some really good points. throughout, and kind of touched on everything that I would say. So I think that was really key. I was thinking about the admin part too, and just if you're bringing in coaches, I always really love to when the admin also act as lead learners with us. And I've been loving seeing more admins show up to PDs and things. And I know they're busy and they have a million things going on. You don't have to be at everyone, but last weekend we did a Saturday PD, and it's a Saturday, right? And teachers are getting up early to work on a Saturday, and here comes in a principal and one of our, district admin, and it was great. I mean, when you're there modeling that culture of learning, I think that's key too. If you're going to ask teachers to work with coaches, and maybe those teachers that are hesitant are going to be less hesitant too, to see that their admin are out there doing the same thing, that we're all learning together all the time. So, yeah.
Great thought.
Awesome.
And do you want to give out your Twitter handle or anything?
Sure. My Twitter handle is at Ms. Hawes. So it's MSSHAUGHS. Thanks,
Amanda. Mm-hmm. Ben? Coach Ben.
All right, yeah. Obviously, Coach Ben, and for me, it's be that spark. It doesn't matter whether you're where you are. Be a leader, because I don't care if you're a classroom teacher, if you're an aide out there, if you're a supervisor. Be a leader and be that spark and kind of carry that passion. And I say be that spark because a spark starts a fire. So just take that upon yourself. And you can find me on, as Mr. Carippo would say, on the Twitter sphere at Coxwell_Ben. Look for the big red face haunting your screen.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, it's me? Okay. The common phrase that people have said in education is that don't reinvent the wheel. And I think that's the message I would say here too, is that coaches have been through it, or they can get the resources for you, so don't reinvent the wheel. So another thing is we're not meant to be islands. So as teachers, lean on coaches. For admins, lean on other districts with coaching models so that you can learn from it. And then for coaches, lean on other coaches. For example, TOSA Chat.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Way to go.
That was good. Nicely done, Ben. I mean, Joe.
Yes.
Go ahead, Carly.
My Twitter handle is jyoung1219.
And that was Joe. Okay, Carly, go ahead.
Ooh, final thoughts. I guess. Just ask for help. I think everybody just seek out that support no matter where you're at. And I think somebody brought up a good point, Ben, that it might not be a coach. It might just be someone on your team. But we've found our tribe in TOSA Chat, and I think that if you just find people that have, that passion, that same passion, and just learn from each other, I think that's really helpful.
Nice.
So, at Carly Mora. And you can find all Kelly, Joe, Ben, and I at TOSA Chat, and all of our Twitter handles are on there.
Cool. Kelly?
Oh, I thought it was Lee next. All right.
Going last isn't so good either.
That's true.
Now I'm jealous that Amanda went first.
I think my final thought would be don't make assumptions as far as don't assume you know what people are doing. And I would echo what pretty much everyone has said is be willing to ask for help if you need it, regardless of who that person may be. And I like Joe's of don't reinvent the wheel, because a lot of times other people are doing it, and the benefit of Amanda and I, and actually most of us, I think except for Carly, of being a district level coach, is that you can see what's happening at other school sites. And so if you ask the coach or your TOSA, whatever you want to call them, hey, have you seen anybody doing this? Then you may have an answer that hasn't been happening at their own school. So don't reinvent the wheel, and sort of just be open to that culture of learning. I'm totally stealing everybody's other random thoughts and making a final thought. And that's it. But yeah, it's we all need to be as as educators, we should be modeling learning for our students, because if we expect them to learn, we need to be modeling it. So as coaches, we need to go forward with that as well. And as administrators, they need to be doing the same thing. So that's probably my random ramblings of final thoughts.
Thanks, Kelly. And Lee.
That was good, Kelly. Now, this is rough going last, but to piggyback off of what everyone said, no, I think really, in 2 words, always learning. As a coach, as a teacher, as a student, we're always learning, and I think modeling it, living that, going in, not being the expert, a give and take, being a good listener, all of these different things make coaching what it is. And I think Joe mentioned it too, the fact that we get to interact with not just 25 kids, but thousands of students, but going into all different classrooms. I feel like every day I'm able to, touch at least one.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, we lost Lee. Oh, and it was going to be so good.
He was on a roll, too.
I was like, oh. Aw.
He was on a roll, too. Okay, so... So it looks like we've come to the end of the show. I think what has been said here has been amazing. If you caught this at the end, I suggest that you go back and you listen to this carefully, because all the ideas and all the perspectives have been awesome. And if you're a coach, teacher, administrator, this definitely is something that you need to listen to. And it looks like Lee is back. So, Lee, do you want to finish up? Is there anything that
I don't know. I don't know where I cut out of. I was really rolling along there, and then I just realized that everything was frozen. So I think I'll just leave it at that, and I'll listen to the podcast and see how it ended up. I don't know.
So, it was really good.
Yeah. Thank you, Carly. I really enjoyed being on this panel. And
so you guys, so you can catch the podcast by going directly to edulisten.com. That's edulisten.com. This episode will be on there soon, and you can catch past episodes on edulisten.com and, of course, at teachcow.com. So I want to thank everyone once again for being on, and keep watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.